Hi everyone, welcome back to Total War Therapy, and a few weeks ago I asked you to rank yourself the best Monstrous Infantry in Total War Warhammer 3, and here we are with the results. From this video on, all the videos will be about Tides of Torment DLC, so subscribe to remain updated. Hi, I'm Alberto, I'm a real person, and here you will find the beginner's guide, the battle unit roster, tier list, ranking, and many shorts, so if you wanna support the channel, please consider to subscribe. In the 10th position, according to my subscribers, we find the Female Warriors, that are a unit from Norska that with the next DLC there will be the chance to boost them with a generic hero called the Female Noble. Now this unit is in two variants, one anti-infantry and the other anti-large, but they share some common features. For example, they have the magical attack, the sundered armor that reduces the armor of the enemy that they are in contact with. Then the melee defense is quite strong for a monstrous infantry of this size. They have a lot of armor and they got armor piercing damage, of course. The charge bonus is not that much, that means that they are not an offensive unit, but I mean they are more a bulwark. And then they got this special ability that is called From the Mist, where basically they got a missile resistance of 25% when the leadership is higher than 50%. That, together with the missile resistance that they already have of 25%, will reach a 55% of missile resistance. That is great because combined with the armor makes this unit almost invulnerable to lethal projectiles like arrows and bullets from pistols. In the 9th place, according to my subscribers, we find the Fiends of Slaanesh, that in theory are monstrous infantry, but for me they are more monstrous beasts, because they are exceptionally fast, they are 95, more than most of cavalry in this game. The armor is very little, but at least they have some physical resistance, and then they get many attributes like the Cosphere, the Devastating Flankers, where you get a bonus to the charge when you charge the flank or the back of the enemy. Then the Striders, so they are immune to any penalties caused by the terrain. Their the melee attack and melee defense are not that high, but they have a good charge bonus, and that, I mean, multiplied for the speed is greater than you may expect. They get the magical attack, the soporific mask that reduces the melee attack and melee defense of the enemies, then armor piercing damage, and yeah, overall they are great. They are the quintessence of the Slaanesh army, and they are very funny to use because they destroy foes in such a matter of seconds. In the 8th place we find the Flamers of Tzeentch, that there are many versions of them, even added with the DLC. There is the Exalted version that is a single entity monster, then there are the Flamers on the disc, but in any case they work in the same way. They are very weak in the melee. If they engage in combat, that it's sad because their animations are very cool, and they get all these bonuses to their attack, like the fire damage, the magical damage, and the warp flame, where basically they reduce the armor of the enemy and they increase their weakness to fires. They have the armor piercing damage both with their melee attack and with the missile attack, and then some physical resistance. Now, as I said, in melee they are very bad, but their magical attack is one of the strongest of the entire game. If you think that even in the basic monstrous infantry every single unit has 300 of damage, and they have very few ammunition, that's why you have to think clearly before to shoot at one target, and the range is very short, so you have to be careful because the enemies can approach you too much, and as I said, when they engage in combat then you're done. But this flamethrower attack can annihilate entire infantry lines. In the 7th position, according to my subscribers, we find the Kedai Fireborn, that, if I'm not wrong, they are the most expensive monstrous infantry, I mean, except Ogre, of course. They are basically this fire demon that, they have plenty of armor, a good speed, melee attack and melee defense, quite great, with flaming attack, magical attack. They are anti-infantry and they have a lot of weapon strength. Their charge is quite mid, so they are not defensive but neither offensive. You have just to use them as a support unit for your front line, for example. Then they are demons. Of course, you have to be careful of if their leadership goes down, because at that point they will cause damage to themselves. They have the fire resistance, then the physical resistance. They have the Hellforge ability, where basically some heroes of the Chaos Dwarfs roster, like the Demosmith Sorcerer, can boost their stats and replenish their hit points. And then there are the Burning Bright, where basically they remain unbreakable till they reach the 25% of their health, and the Blazing Body, that is my favorite because they reflect the damage, and this effect increases with the time spent engaged in melee. They are wonderful units, and the animation are just wonderful. In the 6th position we find the Vargeist from the Vampire Counts. This is an incredible unit, and I'm happy that my subscribers decided to put them here. They have very little armor but an incredible speed because they are flying, 16 entities with 100 of weapon strength with armor piercing damage. The melee attack and melee defense are the melee attack is okay, but the melee defense is very low. But believe me, you will not see that, even because you're supposed to hunt down cavalry or weak infantry, weak missile infantry, for example, and characters, things like that. So you don't need an exceptional melee defense. Even the charge bonus is not that much, but if you consider the speed and the fact that they will charge from the sky, the charge itself is increased by that. And then they get the Frenzy, that is a boost of every stat when their leadership is higher than 50%, and the Hunger, where they basically can replenish their hit points if they are engaged in melee. In this way they become almost immortal. They cause fear and they are undead, so they cause severe damage to themselves when they lose leadership. Now they're amazing. I don't know what we should expect from the next Vampire Counts DLC, but this I think will remain a unit for every part of the campaign, because they fulfill any need. In the top 5, according to my subscribers, we find the Treekin, that is a Monstrous Infantry unit from the Wood Elves. I didn't expect to see it here, but I know that it's very popular across the community. These are this kinda lesser 3-man with a good armor. The speed is very low because they are defensive units, and the charge bonus too. It's probably the lowest amongst all the Monstrous Infantry in the game. They've just they are like a wall. Okay, you have to use them to protect your troops from attacks and not to attack themselves. The melee attack and melee defense are quite nice. Of course, the melee attack is very low because they're not supposed to deal damage, but they still have the magical attack. The weapon strength is not that high first, and second is not armor piercing. That is quite rare amongst the Monstrous Infantry. Then they get the charge defense versus large. They already have a big mass, but together with that they will suffer no penalty from the charge, the vanguard deployment, because you can just camouflage them in the wood. The immunity to psychology, then the woodsmen, they perform better in the forest. Some physical resistance, some missile resistance, and the fire weakness, because they are 3. What do you expect? In the 4th place, you decided to put the Man-Eaters, that I included all in the same category, because otherwise this video would have been only about Ogre. There are 5 versions of them, then the generic one, the one with shield, the one with pistol, the one with the great hammer, and the one with the double sword of Golg. Now, all of them, they have increased stats compared to the other Ogre Monstrous Infantry, like the Bulls and the Iron Guts, but they lose a lot of armor compared to the Iron Guts. But they get the armor piercing damage, every version of that, their immunity to psychology, so they will not suffer the fear of any monster, and they cause, the terror, because they already cause fear. They have the Ogre charge, where basically when you charge the enemy, the unit, even if it has some anti-large defense, they will negate just half of that. And overall they're very strong. They are the most elite Ogre Kingdom Monstrous Infantry, so you have to fill your army with that when you already succeed in the campaign. A good charge bonus, a good melee defense, not that much armor, but is the best you can find here. Now quickly some honorable mentions of some units that they didn't enter the top 10 but they were quite close. In the 15th place we find the Rat Ogres, that is the Monstrous Infantry of the Skaven. Very good, I mean they help a lot the army of Skaven that otherwise in melee can be quite weak, especially without all the DLCs. I like them. Okay, there is also a mount linked to them, there is Gorich, that is a legendary hero of them, and then probably we will see another unit of them in the future, maybe this time with the Warpstone cannons. In the 14th place we find the Sepulchral Stalkers, that is a unit from Tom King's that I agree is one of my favorite because they are both missile units and anti-large monsters. They have this short range but particularly strong missile attack, armor piercing, that it performs very well against cavalry and monsters, and then they are anti-large beasts, so when the enemy finally charge them they have the charge reflection and all the anti-large bonus, so they will deal plenty of damage to cavalry and other monsters, and then they have the stalk, so they can move hidden across the map, and I mean this is crazy. In the 13th place we find the Mongols, that is a unit both available for Vampire Counts and Vampire Coast. This is a good one. They also have the Stalk, so they can move hidden across the map. They have some missile resistance, then they have the Strider, the Hunger, so basically they replenish their hit points when they are engaged in melee. The Frostbite attack, they reduce the speed of the enemy, and this is great when they have to chase cavalry and other units. A lot of weapon strength with the bonus versus infantry, armor piercing damage. I mean they're crazy, and I mean this like a half body with the two great arms. It's just wonderful. In the 12th place we find the Trolls, that there are so many versions that is impossible just to make a definition of them. They are accessible to many factions like Norska, the Warriors of Chaos, the Greenskins, and I think yeah, that's it. In common they have the thing that they, of course, there are Monstrous Infantry that cause fear, and they get the regeneration, so they will replenish their hit points, but they're a little weak to fire, and then who knows, maybe the Troll Kings will get access to many of them in the next DLC. We will find out very soon. In the 11th place we find the Plague Ogres, and I agree with this choice of my subscribers. They are basically enhanced version of the Man-Eater with the mark of Nargol, so they get the poison effect when engaging melee, then increase the hit points, increase the melee defense, but lesser melee attack. They are still immune to psychology, they have the Ogre Charge, and yeah, overall there are in two versions, so one anti-infantry and the other anti-large, and I mean they're just they're terribly good. I love them, and they're probably the best ogre, at least in my opinion, in this game. Now let's get back to the ranking, because my subscribers decided to put on the 3rd place the Kroxigor. Quite unexpected, but they're actually great. This is a unit from the Lizardman roster in two versions, one with the DLC that are the Sacred Kroxigor, and the other this is just the mere armor piercing, big crocodiles. They have plenty of armor, so they are, and you can unlock them even in the early campaign, so they are crazy against low tier melee infantry. Then they have a good speed, a lot of leadership, melee attack and melee defense quite mid for a Monstrous Infantry, weapon strength very big with the anti-infantry bonus, and the magical attack without anti-infantry bonus for the sacred version. And then they get many abilities that like the Predator fight, where they increase the speed and melee attack when there are some units of the enemy that are routing. The Primal Instinct, where when their hit points are greater than 50%, no sorry, when they are lesser than 50%, they will get an increased charge bonus, melee attack and physical resistance, and then the missile resistance, and at the end the Spawn King, that is the last attribute that they add to them, where basically they will get enhanced weapon strength when there is a skink unit in range. That's why you should build armies of skinks and Kroxigor together. In the second place of the ranking we find the Minotaurs that are available both for the Beastmen and for Khorne. In the Beastmen there are 3 versions, one with the shield, so better against missile attack, one with large weapons that they are good against cavalry and monsters, and one with double axes that are better to disrupt infantry. Now overall they are this Monstrous Infantry, very big with a good speed, more than the average Monstrous Infantry. The armor is not that great, but at least they have a lot of hit points. The melee attack and melee defense are mid, the weapon strength is amazing, then the charge bonus is not that big, but all together with the weapon strength the effect will be the same of a great charge. And then they get the Blood Greed, that is an interesting ability that when they make a lot of kills, then they will get increased melee attack, charge bonus, weapon damage, and even the immunity to psychology, so they will not suffer terror caused by bigger monster than them. And then another crazy thing is the Woodsman attribute. So basically, while other monsters they perform not that well in the forest, they will get boosted there. So overall great, and the version is Khorne is just slightly different. They get more armor and slightly changes. On the first place we find of course the Skin Wolves, a Monstrous Infantry unit from Norska. They get even a generic hero, and who knows, maybe soon we will get also a legendary hero. In any case, they are this very fast, faster than, not fast like the Fins of Slanesh, but faster than all the other Monstrous Infantry. Very little armor for the generic version, and with a great armor for the armored one. The leadership is okay, the speed, as I say, they are very fast. The armored version is a little slower. The melee attack and melee defense are good, not that much, but consider that they have to chase down cavalry and other monsters, so it's okay. The weapon strength is not that high, but they are 24 entities instead of 12 or 16s like other Monstrous Infantry. They get the bonus versus large, that's why they are great against the cavalry, and the charge bonus is okay. They get the regeneration, that it's wonderful. They are werewolves that can replenish their hit points, but of course they're a little weak to fire. Then the Frenzy, where their stats get boosted when the leadership is high. The Strider, where they are immune to the penalties of the terrain and some physical resistance. Overall they are one of the best anti-large, anti-cavalry beast monsters, so yeah, I love them, and thank you for this first place. Let's see very soon with the videos about the DLC Tides of Torment.